Okay, so as you can see, I had 3 goes at this talk, probably over time, and what I want to talk about is using something other than a command line for Git. There we go. So this was going back to something like 2010 when I was using Git and came across this tool called Source Tree, and it's which one should you use? It's better or worse. Lots of times you have the impression, a bit similar to Snotcore, that using command line is the only way. That's what real developers do. If you're not a real developer, then walk away now. So obviously there are, actually yes, slightly embarrassing which ones they are, but there are certain things about using the command line, and one of them is obviously around automation. The fact that you can take your Git commands, put them into a script, and run that quickly, and it's always repeatable. That's always useful. But try explaining at times how version control works to another person, maybe starting out in development, because we're already dealing with a very sort of abstract, conceptual issue about writing our programs. So if you imagine they're standing there, they're juggling cats, and suddenly you're talking about this thing which is even more abstract. It's got time involved and branches, and they've got different versions out here and there, and you bring them together, and so suddenly you're not only letting them to juggle cats, but you're also just throwing in the odd chainsaw as well, just to get them to just be thinking on their feet. And that's why when I saw Source Tree, I thought, yeah, this is really helpful for me because it's all there. I mean, actually, I suddenly realised that in my screenshots, I didn't have it marking out where the branches and the tags are, but it's just showing me everything there, one go. My job is basically as a programmer. I'm not a command line Git wrestler. So this is helping me do my job as quickly as possible. So yes, it's highly visible, it's easy to use. There are pros and cons about the fact that you can actually use both at the same time. So the pro is that actually you can use both at the same time. So you're not migrating the whole of your source code into another format. You can basically pick whichever is easiest for you, either on your preference or just in terms of what you're actually doing. The con of that, though, is the fact that it is another layer on top of something else. So there's potential for just that extra bit of complexity. Git has sort of quietened down now, pretty much, in terms of releases, as opposed to maybe 2010 when I was starting to do this, when you had to worry about what version of Git was in which particular thing and had it caught up. The other main thing I found then was I was working on either a virtual machine on my local laptop, or I was working when I was with another company. They had all their development machines on a separate server elsewhere. And basically, it's not really that Source Tree is by itself painful over a remote connection. It's that Git doesn't like running over a remote connection because you've got a local version of Git trying to do lots of file scans on a separate file system somewhere else. And that can be quite painful. And one of the nice things about Source Tree is that it will automatically refresh. Quite often it will refresh, basically do a Git status regularly. It will also go off and do a Git fetch on all the different repositories that you're connected to. So having that running all the time is even worse. So that would be my first take, which is, let's say it's the comfort zone. Use whatever's best for you, basically. Just get on with your job, which is programming. So stick with what you like. So after that, probably about 5 years ago, I was starting to work more with other developers, and the company I was working with, they hadn't even used version control at all. So it was a completely new topic for them. So this starts getting into like more soft skills. So the fact that actually I can see what is involved in a particular commit is really useful for people starting out, because you just get these commits that say stuff, lots of files, or fixes, lots of files, or thank God the client's actually finally made up their mind on what they really want, lots of files. So I can actually interpret what the rest of the team were doing and I can actually pick out, understand that. Also, I can be more thoughtful about what I'm doing with my commits. I can see exactly what I'm putting in. So when you're actually putting together a commit, you see this sort of diff that's over on your right-hand side. And you can select individual lines that you want to put into a commit. You can select chunks of code. So you can actually say, this makes up one idea. I'm going to put that in. And then that's something that somebody can pick up and see. So seeing that, it helps me. There's also some other things about the visibility of the commits. So this is doctrine. I'll just skip over here. When I come into work each day, I tend to have a quick look because this is free for me. It comes into SourceTree. I can see what's been going on over the last day or so. So these bottom 6, if it was actually at work, I would be worried because you've got 2124, 2210, 1925. You've got somebody working at post midnight. If we all assume they're working on my time zone, which I don't know, these people might not do because I just picked something at random. But that would worry me. And I'd be thinking, oh, what's going on here? Because that's not a good thing for people working. I'd also be looking at slightly higher up and seeing 29th of March, 3rd of April, ooh, nothing's really happened. What on earth's going on there? I think, oh God, yes, Easter bank holiday weekend. Good, everybody took that off. That's really good. So just being able to scan very easily, very quickly helps me with working with the rest of the team, who to look out for, who might be having a bad time because, as I say, we tag our releases. If there's lots of tags coming out, you think, oh God, somebody's trying to deploy something, it's not working out properly. Or actually, there's no tag for a long time. What the hell's going on? I know something's due soon. So it's got nothing to do with actually using Git in terms of what I'm doing, but it just helps me talk to the rest of the team. And also, it's very easy for me to add in another repository. So if you're working with somebody else, somebody who's new to development, new to your company, new to this particular part of the project, you can just add in their repo and their commits will come in to everything else. So you can just look at that and say, well, yeah, I think they're struggling a bit there, or I can see it. Yes, they've gone back and fixed that. I think I need to go over and talk to them and help them out. So it's just a nice way. So yes, that would be my second conclusion, that actually, even if you do like running command line for yourself, then having the visibility of what's going on in the repository has other benefits, and it might not just be to your code base, it might be working with other people. Let's go back to my list. And this one is more recent, where as a company, we've got data scientists working with us, and they're really great at taking data and manipulating it and processing it. But we're trying to give them sort of the engineering side of things as well. So I suddenly having to explain a bit more what I'm doing with SourceTree, sort of realized I was doing some things slightly different, going beyond just imitating the command line. So one of the things about this is command line seems to me very much narrative driven. And so if I was to say to you, I'm going to explain how to get from the A38 to the train station, I'm going to describe it. One option is this bit over on the right-hand side. And this is where command line becomes very difficult, and why I'm talking about the unreliable narrator. Because if you're looking at that, you're thinking, actually, what the hell is he talking about, the A50? And where is Brian Clough Way? And I think probably some older people in the audience might know where Brian Clough might be. But the thing is that people have to look after their command line Git branches and have to keep telling themselves how it got there and what's going on elsewhere. And that becomes very difficult. Which, as you can see, I'm talking about how do you get from the A38 to the train station in Derby. And using something like SourceTree, I can see all my commits, I can see my branches. I don't have to worry about what I'm keeping. I can just pick out what I'm using and what I need. So suddenly, I just have a very slimmed down set of branches. I left work today, I only had one branch locally. I don't care about my branches because I can just start a new branch tomorrow immediately as I need it. Use it, get rid of it. I don't care. Also, like master dev, everybody's talking, these are really important. Actually, again, it makes absolutely no odds to me. I do have this thing I've now called pointy tip as a really silly name to remind me to get rid of it. But it just tells me, I was using that today, this is where that client is, and I need to stop. Anyway, but just be able to pick it out, use it, throw it away. I don't need to keep master up to date. Oops. So finally, I just have a very slimmed down version of commands in Git that I use. And that for me is the other part of the lesson, is that I think the more you have to use really complicated Git commands, the further and further you're going into complexity, and it's a process that's not working. So there we are. So life is easier if you give up having to maintain the story.